And Dr. Brad Cobb, would you mind doing a prayer for us today?
Thank you. Lord, we come to you and ask for your guidance in everything we do here today. We ask your guidance not only with the Cherokee Nation, but as the United States, our country. We ask that you watch over our troops all around the world and their families, and give us the wisdom to progress through this new year. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Cobb. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Kara Callan Watts.
Ani.
Joel England. Bill John Baker.
Here.
Harley Bezzard.
Here.
Joe Crittenden. Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Tina Gloria Jordan. Present. David Thornton. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. There's just one agenda item, and it is our TERO legislation. And before we proceed, I believe it's with Section 5L, and we don't have the pages numbered, but it's about 6 or 7, 8 pages in. There were 3 action items. And I apologize, I should have brought that email. Thank you.
What section, please?
Section 5, the TERO Office Establishment Authority and Duties, and I think it's L at the bottom that we're to start with. But just to refresh the committee, because it's been some time since we've had an opportunity to meet because of the holidays. First of all, the meeting minutes from our last meeting have been included in this section, but they were already approved by the full Executive and Finance Committee. But for your review, in order to get back up to speed, they've been included in the packet, and we appreciate that, Shelley, so that I can refresh your memory what we did last meeting, because I believe that was October. But there's 3 action items that came out of last meeting's efforts and work. First of all, Councilwoman Fishinghawk and the Counselor Attorney Todd Hembry were tasked and accepted with providing a full proposal for a TERO commission with the budget and staff. And then Councilwoman Gloria Jordan and Mr. Hembry were supposed to look at specifics on how to strengthen the legislation, the actual reading of the legislation. And then Councilman Thornton, who's not here, and Mr. Hembry were to look at the definition of what discretionary funds meant and review. Do any of the 3 council people or the Attorney Hembry have updates on those 3 action items?
I will defer to you again.
Please, Councilwoman.
Well, Todd and I have talked about the little area that we were assigned to do, and I think ours is rather simple, so I'll go ahead and let Todd outline the 2 things that we talked about doing.
Oh, the strengthening part of TERO can be very simple. The TERO, the statute itself needs some fine tuning, but not much. The problem is in the enforcement, and the 2 ways that you would change or strengthen TERO, in our opinion, would be to create an independent commission that would have the ability and the authority to enforce the TERO laws. The second, and probably the most important way to strengthen TERO at this point, in my opinion, would be to make TERO applicable to the Cherokee Nation entities. There are some who think that we would want to make it to the Cherokee Nation government, and I'm 6 of one, half dozen of the others on that. But as to the entities itself, those are the employers of the vast majority of people, or that have to deal with TERO. So if you define employer to include entities wholly owned or majority owned by the Cherokee Nation, I think you would expand the breadth of TERO greatly, and would increase its opportunity to be strengthened.
Do you concur?
That would be our recommendation on that particular issue.
So do you have so I heard two things. I heard that the action item, which goes back to Councilman Fishing Hawks, and Mr. Embry were to come back with, yes, we agree that we want a separate commission. So then we need to know how it's structured for folks, because I think people weren't comfortable because they weren't sure what that meant in making a final decision. So we need like a proposal on what that would look like, both structurally and budget-wise. And I heard you agree with that, and that definitely needs to be done. And then I was looking for language then around the second, which would be that how to propose it to apply to the businesses.
You simply would need to amend one small area of it.
Yeah, that amendment is in the book there. It's
And so we'll review it later.
Section 4G.
Section 4G, and the underlying language is what we would, what I would suggest that be put in there.
And that's what we've already approved.
And it's already been approved, yeah. So that part's good to go. Now, as to the commission itself, they're in section, if you turn the page in the book, tribal board of appointments rights, delete office, put commission. We have a basic outline of what that commission would look like. Which is a three-person commission, one appointed by the legislative branch, one appointed by the executive branch, and those two picking a third. They would have to meet no less than once a month. You're going to want to pay them some type of stipend to cover their expenses at the very least. The commission or the committee asked to compare this to other active commissions that we have, and there are two major commissions that are really active, I believe, in the Cherokee Nation. One is the Election Commission, and one is the Gaming Commission. Now, the Gaming Commission, they meet several times a month. They have a large, they got a lot on their plate. They're a very busy commission, and they do fantastic work. I don't see the TERO Commission being like the Gaming Commission. I see it more like the Election Commission, where the Election Commission meets, maybe monthly, but they basically just want to make sure that the train's running on time, the staff is doing well, and they will not do their real work until close to election time. Now, this TERO Commission, if the council decides to go in that direction, I would foresee it being, like I said, a three-person commission that would come in and review the recommendations of the TERO staff. Now, how the current staff gets parlayed into the authority of the commission, that's more of a human resource question. I really don't know, but I would assume that the current TERO staff would simply be reallocated to a commission, and then the executive director or group leader of TERO would report to the commission instead of right now reporting to the principal chief.
Okay, so everybody's kind of heard a general kind of proposal. Is that the direction in general that you think we should head, or is there any objections? So if there's no objections, then Councilwoman Fishing Hawk, are you comfortable with having that back to us in writing with some more solid information on the
Hawk
table?
has been busy doing other stuff on the council stuff the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he said he would get with me in the next couple of weeks so we can send it out maybe in 2 weeks so everybody can look at it before your next meeting.
Okay, so you'll have it for us in writing at the next meeting?
Well, hopefully, Todd, we'll have it before then for them to look at.
Okay.
Okay, Todd?
I will make it a point that, and also we're going to review the materials of the conference that you attended, and I wanted to incorporate, that in there also. And I've also looked at, how to blow the dust off this, how we used to do it. Whereas the TERO Commission was de facto the employment committee of the tribal council. I don't think that's, I think that bleeds the separation of powers too much, and I would go more with an appointed commission.
Okay, so Councilwoman Gloria Jordan has satisfied her, and we appreciate that. Thank you for your hard work.
Just one additional comment. I would like for us to explore, before we talk about a committee of 3, possibly a committee of 5, with 2 appointed from the council, 2 from the chief, and 1 to be appointed by the 4, which is more in keeping with our other commissions. It might just be a little bit easier for all of it to be consistent, because I think our other commissions have 5 members each. So you might want to, in the next step, just explore whether it should be 3 or 5. Because if we should have 1 pass, which we sure hope wouldn't happen, it would somewhat leave us in a bind as to what to do. 5 seems to be maybe a little more of a working number, and that was just a little bit different in our discussion. I think you like 3 and I kind of like 5, so we just throw that out there, that there's 2 numbers you might want to look at.
The only reason I came with a recommendation of 3 is that during the discussions of the last subcommittee, there was a concern of how much this is going to cost us. As a cost saving matter, 3 costs less than 5, but have no problem in exploring 5.
Councilman Baker?
But one sick and you're pretty much out of business if there's 3.
That's true.
Does anybody, Janelle, do you know what the gaming commission gets as a stipend?
They were getting $1,000 a month. I'm not sure what they get now.
I think it's gone up a little bit from there. The election commission, they get, I want something very small. I want to say $25 a meeting plus mileage and expenses. Is it more than that,
I
Jody?
thought they got 3.
300 a meeting?
Most thought they got 300 a month.
Oh, a month.
It ain't a meeting or mileage anymore, it's just 3.
Okay, all right. Well, I stand corrected then.
Are you done, Councilman Baker? The only thing that I have not heard addressed by the brief overview is where a hearing, a mediation hearing or something to that effect might be heard, if that body would be given that power, and if so, what kind of qualifications would they need, or is it something where we could use another body to review should there be a conflict specifically over individual employment rights as Cherokee preference, and then also the vendors and TERO preference. That's the only thing I haven't heard addressed in that. And Councilwoman Fishing Hawk, I think you had your hand raised.
John can talk about this some, because when we was up at that TERO conference talking, theirs was set up, John, wasn't it, where we had a business person where the 5 members had different specialties, like one was in construction, one was in business, one was in, they had different backgrounds is what they made sure of. So everything was covered that way. And how did they handle the employees and stuff, John? They're sending us a bunch of PowerPoints and a bunch of information. I just now talked to John, and we was going to send it to Gail so everybody on the committee could have it for them. How did they address that, John?
The employees were different for each tribe because each reservation has their own different set of rules from the TERO side. So most of the TERO did cover that, but as far as be specific, I don't know the specifics on that part, just how that would go.
And I'm concerned logistically how we would do that if we split 2 for the chief, 2 for us, and they picked a 5th. I see the value in what you're saying, but I don't know how we would do it. Dr. Streamery?
Well, right now, in our present act, the way appeals are handled is under sections 26 and 27. And what I would, it wouldn't be very difficult just to, for for example, Section 26, if any employer or person feels aggrieved by decision made by the TERO office, and you strike office and put commission, so they make that initial decision, they may appeal to the Employee Appeals Board, which is an entity that currently exists. If you're not satisfied with the Employee Appeals Board, you can go on and appeal to District Court of the Cherokee Nation. So there is a framework here. We would just need to go in and if we're going to go commission, take out office and put TERO office, but TERO commission. But that 3 or 5 member commission would make your initial determination on that.
So the other thing too then is, do we want to wait until the proposal's been put in front of us and we vote up or down, yes, we're going with the commission, and then you do the work on the legislation to revise for a commission and we wait another month, or do you want that all as one package? Because we're kind of behind because of the holidays and such.
Can we not today vote whether we want to proceed with a commission form? And then that will give them the input they need to finish up their second part of the work.
I would welcome a
I put
motion,
that in the form of a
Second.
motion.
and that was seconded by Joe Crittenden. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman
would we
Pleasant.
want to go ahead and specify this with a friendly amendment to put 5 on the commission?
I like 5, and you've heard the pros and cons to 5.
I'm assuming it's going to be 5 because there was no objections, and I would say that that's the work.
And if we didn't, I would make that a friendly amendment to your.
And I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
And second accepted. Yes, Councilman Baker.
And I realize there's a motion and there's a second, and I hope this is germane, but it just dawned on me what Todd just said about the commission making all the decisions and having to appeal someplace else. Would it not be better to have the TERO office make the first decision and the commission actually be the place of appeal?
Well, and this might be where we ferret out the details of the commission. It's my understanding the way the commission would work, okay, is that TERO people would come in and just like they do otherwise. They're applying for TERO status, or they're saying you didn't hire me, etc. Well, the staff works it up, and the staff makes a recommendation, okay? Now, that recommendation is presented, the way I look at it, that's the staff, monthly at least, makes a recommendation to the TERO Commission. This is what we decided on this one. Now, are you going to back us up, or, do you agree or disagree?
I guess what I was thinking was that the staff would go ahead and try to take care of the grievances, take care of the problems, get everything worked out. And then if it wasn't worked out to satisfaction, then I would think that they would go to the commission. I don't know that we want this commission to meet weekly or 2 days a week or whatever. But I mean, more in time like the election commission or the tax commission, as I see it, the administrator makes his decisions. Then if they don't like it, then they go to the gaming commission or to the tax commission. I don't know. It's just something to think about. That it might take a whole bunch of district court and a whole bunch of appeals board and this, that, and the other if they felt like they had a place to go if they didn't like the decision.
Well, we can explore that option, but I mean, right now I think we might need to take a vote.
All right.
And then, I think I'm going to make a call, I think it's germane. All he's asking is that, and I agree, that it's also outlined the procedure for the method for grievances to go through, where that starts. Because that needs to be clear, because that's why part of the reason why we're in the place we're in is people don't know where to take grievances to have them properly aired. So, if there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and take a vote on the motion on the floor. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so I think that addresses those two action items. The remaining action item, Councilman Thornton's not here, so Mr. Embry, I'm asking you to go back and talk to him about those discretionary funds, unless you have a response for us.
No, I know that he was intending to ask Doug Evans for input as to the definition of discretionary funds. And I don't know if he and Doug got hooked up on that.
Mr. Baker?
And for those that may or may not know, Doug is out for 2 weeks. He had some surgery, and so he will be out for a couple of weeks.
But we'll have a definition by the next.
And that next meeting will be February 17th on the Tuesday, and Shelley has done a great job and worked us in already at 2 o'clock on that day with the other meetings.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Can
Councilman.
we ask Todd to give a brief overview of what he means with discretionary funds and TERO? I think they've all walked out that day and didn't hear it. What reached out to the phone and listened to for discretionary funds?
Was asked to Cherokee Nation funds vis-a-vis government or funds from the federal government that may have specific requirements or ties to. That's
That was part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I was, Madam Chair, I was just thinking, that, and I wanted to ask John, may not know the answer to it right now, about how much money we collect from our TERO fees and things like that. John, do you have an
Mr.
estimate?
Overactor, could you come forward by chance and give us a ballpark, maybe?
I think approximately right now we have between $600,000 and $700,000 in our account. Those funds are earmarked for training purposes. Right now we're in negotiations with a few training consultants to do some OSHA 10, OSHA 30 classes, some CDL classes and things like that. So we'll be rolling those out hopefully by the 1st of February, start having Saturday classes at different areas. For instance, we'll have one in Tahlequah, we'll have one in Salisaw, we'll have one in Jay, we'll have one in the northern counties as well, possibly one in Claremore, just different places where we will hire an instructor that can produce certificates that are recognized nationally, not just locally, for any tribal citizens who would like to attend these classes for free.
And then a follow-up question. John, can you explain or tell the body here what fees do you actually charge for TERO vendors or TERO people?
Right now, everything under construction we collect 0.5 of 1% of anything over $5,000, whether that be from the housing rehab or any remodel projects here with the entities or the Cherokee Nation itself. Also, we do charge the $25 work permit fee for each project, for each bid, for every non-Indian that works there. That comes, basically, those come off their core crew list. And then if there are different qualifications where we don't have anyone off my job bank to qualify, if they have to hire a non-Indian, they still have to pay $25 for that non-Indian. So.
Okay, this is something we may want to look at when we get into it a little further to increase those TERO fees from $25 to another level. So we want to keep that in mind as we go along here. $25 in charge will last ever since I've been here, and I know. Is that
Correct. I don't think they started actually doing it until 3 or 4 years ago, so collecting those fees, so it's not that,
all right, thank you.
for the vendors, it's not that of a.
Do you have anything else, Mr. President?
No, that's all.
Yes, Councilman.
I'm sorry, John, I missed the amount of discretionary funds. How much did you say it was?
Approximately between $600,000 and $700,000.
But that's just what's in the account today. That's not what he's actually collected over like an annual.
Yes, we have some of the funds earmarked for different things, some reward programs, incentives for some testing to help Cherokee citizens that are doing like work keys testing possibly in the future, giving them different incentives to go to the next level, to get their, and I say this, is it bronze, silver, and gold? Okay, yeah, to a bronze, we may give them a certain amount. You know, the silver, we may give them this amount, and a gold to hit this amount. The reason we're going to look at doing this is because it's an incentive for them, because the higher they go, the more opportunities they have to be hired to go out to different companies. The trainings are simple. We just hire those in. I approximately have maybe 20 to 30 people in OJTs right now. Those last from 3 to 6 months. Actually, I think we're sending 1 or 2 to the Cherokee Recycling. I met with them last week, and Nettie Dethridge out of the Ross program under Melanie Dodge does all our contracts and things like that. So I know we're doing with the city of Kansas, where they hired a Cherokee citizen. We're looking at 4 or 5 more as we go along. More companies are coming to us looking to hire Native Americans, and mostly of them are Cherokee in our jurisdiction. So, it's to get them in to get 3 to 6 months of training. We're looking at, I've talked to a company today, and they want to hire 2 Cherokees that can become sales reps. Start them out on a salary, and then start winning them down to where they can be more on commission and less on salary when we release them to the company. So we have all different kinds of ideas and different things to try to help people be successful.
Does that answer your question? Thank you. Okay, so if nothing else about these action items. We're going to resume with section 5L and keep going down with amendments. And then everybody's mind's clear about what they owe us in February 17th. Okay.
Okay. As you can see there, section 5L is require employers to give preference to Indian-owned economic enterprises in the award of contracts and subcontracts. The addition would be, this requirement shall also include Cherokee Nation Enterprises, Cherokee Nation Industries, and any other corporation in which the Cherokee Nation has a majority interest. The first employment preference shall be Cherokee citizens, and a second preference shall be members of a federally recognized tribe of Indians. Now, I guess, I know we want the TERO to apply to entities. I guess what I need is very clear instructions from the subcommittee is, do you want TERO to apply to the Cherokee Nation government itself? And so how you determine that will determine how we write this amendment. Because right now Cherokee Nation is included in the amendment. Okay?
Mr. Anglin.
Thank you. I believe, this is my personal opinion, I believe the Cherokee Nation should stay in the mix because of, with us moving all of our housing stuff over into the Cherokee Nation, that could exempt them from, and there's a lot of employees in housing, in the construction side. So that would eliminate a whole lot of people if the Cherokee Nation didn't have to follow these same guidelines. So that'd be my thought on leaving the Cherokee Nation as being bound by the TERO Act.
So are you making a motion to accept this amendment as he's recommending?
Sure, I need to. I'll make that motion.
So you're second?
Second.
I think Bill John beat Joe. And Bill John has hand raised.
Well, and I did have a comment that, folks, it wasn't very long ago that every light in this place, not only in the council house, but the entire complex was switched out by a crew from south of the border. And it made me ill that we would do such as that when we have, all kinds of trades and electricians and maintenance and things that could have done that job, and yet we bring in a crew that one English speaker among them, and they go through our entire complex, and it was just really a slap in the face. And so I really encourage that we make the government part of it.
Mr. Hembry, so what you read, if I'm looking at section 5L that's in the book, it reads differently than what you read to us. And I think what you read to us, or was everybody looking at the same thing?
I'm going to propose amendments.
I'll keep up here.
That's the actual act itself.
Well, I thought it was at the first. Yeah, and I thought I had that. time off. I was at the actual,
Yeah,
Close, right
yeah,
there.
right there.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, we're gonna cover that.
Yeah, so it's way closer. I had skipped past that and went to the actual, okay. So, does anyone have any further discussion, or is all minds clear? We have a motion by Councilman England and a second by Councilman Baker. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Excellent. Please proceed, Mr. Embry.
Okay. The next is, we're still on rights and duties under Section 5 of the TERO Act. Would add a new subsection W, okay, which says, provide quarterly reports to the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council based on employers' reports to the TERO Commission and investigations thereof, published quarterly on, to be published quarterly on website and/or Cherokee Phoenix newspaper. This requirement is self-explanatory. It would, that the commission would provide reports to the tribal council on a quarterly basis as to their activities.
Do I hear a motion, and I have a suggestion that we strike the "or" and that it's both published to the website and the Cherokee Phoenix whoever makes the motion.
I'd make that motion.
So with the "or" stricken, Councilman Baker and then seconded by Councilman Crittenden. Are there any comments or questions?
I was looking the same thing you were, and the only thing is, what if the Phoenix doesn't want to print it?
Okay, then it should read something that, and it may change, it may not always be the Cherokee Phoenix, so maybe it should read the tribal newspaper, right? 'Cause
Yeah, and that was the only reason I was trying to
and
make
then
it or.
but it's submitted to,
Okay.
for publication, and of course, it's up to them at the end.
Okay.
But the action has to be taken to make it readily available to them. So that they can accept that, how would that read then?
Provided quarterly reports to the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council based on employers' reports to the TERO Commission and investigations thereof, to be submitted
Quarterly.
well, no, just say submitted quarterly on website and to Cherokee Tribal newspaper. Okay.
I hate to be a victim of this at time, right? The website is essentially controlled by the administration. So we want to submit to the Cherokee Phoenix or the tribal newspaper, but we want to require it be published to the tribal website. Is that correct? You see what I'm saying, just in case?
That's good. Put on our future new website.
Well, I don't know if we'll, everything's a cost.
I would, at this point, just leave it both at submitted. And if it runs into a problem, which I would not think that it would, but if it runs into a problem, this is, strike that. Let's, and I'm just thinking out loud here. If we just leave with the language to be published, that's Cherokee law, okay? And the tribal newspaper, even though it's operates under the Free and Independent Press Act, it's still a tribal entity.
We have other things that are to be published, and if they're not very specific, they're not doing it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know that was.
because I believe that the Freedom of Information Act is not being properly executed by everybody, including us. But that's a whole other issue. So if it's not specific, then nobody can be held accountable. That's my only caveat. But you guys have the motion in the second. I'm just throwing that out, and I'm chairing, so I'm with the will of the body.
I can go either way. What do you think?
can we order the Cherokee Nation to put it on their website?
No, you passed the laws, and those laws must be faithfully executed.
Then I want to add the word Cherokee Nation in front of the website.
And it should be shall.
And yeah, let's do shall. Yeah, shall publish quarterly
Okay.
And then it would be
and
published.
submitted to the
Correct.
tribal newspaper, Cherokee Nation tribal newspaper.
Okay.
Is that clear as mud?
Shall publish quarterly on the Cherokee Nation website and be submitted to the Cherokee tribal newspaper. Got it.
Call for the question.
Question has been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Okay. If you turn the page, the next amendment is, we're still on Section 5. And this would add a new X, which would read, audit compliance on an annual basis, including all employers, including but not limited to Cherokee Nation Enterprises, Cherokee Nation Industries, and any other entity in which the Cherokee Nation owns majority interest. This, to make sure what we're talking about, Section 5 is dealing with the authority and
Yes,
duties of
Councilman
TERO.
Baker.
Okay. Now, all employers. So now, we're going to have an audit of Jim's janitorial. Is that what if he's TERO?
He's TERO. Audit compliance on an annual basis.
And what provision do we have for what kind of an audit and what kind of a burden are we put on some of these small TERO vendors?
Well,
I mean,
this
I can see auditing our TERO department that they've done their job, but I'm getting a little, we're on a slippery slope here, having every little TERO entity or Cherokee Nation tribally owned having an audit.
Okay, well, I mean, the idea is that the TERO office, is going to make sure that employers are complying, all right? Now, this is painted in the broad stroke, and that's, and if we want to, delve into the details, we can, as to limiting the scope of the audit, et cetera, et cetera. But, and I think this might have been one of Thornton's amendments. I'm not for sure. But the idea is to give TERO the authority to make sure everybody's doing what they're doing.
I guess my can I go?
Well, I have a question which may
Okay.
help.
Okay.
So is the point of the amendment to audit citizenship, that they're actually Indian? Is that what the point of the amendment is? Or you don't know because you think it's Thornton's?
I don't know. This wasn't my original amendment.
Well, and I mean, I've been on some 501c3s that they didn't generate enough money to pay for an audit. And every now and then you can get a CPA and stuff to give you an audit and yada, yada, yada. But if we're talking about small businesses that might only get one TERO job and they've got to pay $10,000 or $5,000 for an audit, that is going to, then I think that's an undue burden. If it's done by our TERO staff and they submit the information, then that's something altogether together. So I'm confused, and you got your hand up. So
I'll defer.
No, I mean, that's what.
No. This is a duty for the TERO office, so it would be the TERO staff going out asking these businesses for paperwork to make sure that they are complying with TERO, submitting paperwork. This would not require, mom and pop to go out and pay for an audit. This is, hey, we're going to come in, give us the
It's not
name.
clear though that it's a financial audit.
It's not a financial audit. It's whether you are, are you, how many Indians do you hire? Who's unemployed?
Maybe it should, so that we can, is it we'll table it, but with the action that Thornton needs to come back with what his intent was. And if his intent was to comply with whether or not they're tribal citizens and their actual Indian employment. But in lieu of that, when they submit for TERO, we should have copies of those folks' blue cards or whatever that tribal citizenship is. And then they're subject to audit by TERO with regards to tribal citizenship of employment. But it's not it doesn't have to be annual, and we don't say that it's random. And then we've already really got documentation on hand.
Move the table.
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. So you're going to get with Thornton on that, right?
Yeah.
And kind of come up with some new language. Now, section 5, A through E, we're going to wait till next month, because that's already been declared that it's next month.
Right.
Because that has to do with the commission.
Correct.
So definitions are,
Definitions is basically changing member to citizen, and that would be found in the definitions section of the Act.
do I hear a motion to approve?
Which is section 4.
All those, any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Section 8, Indian preference requirements generally.
Okay.
And that whole section, that C is going to be stricken.
That was the,
And that's because it excludes Cherokee Nation and doesn't include all our entities.
right.
Do I hear a motion to approve the strike?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Don Garvin and Joe Crittenden. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. I was like, she would have looked, and Don was the motion,
Okay.
and he was the second. He would already looked up.
I mean,
Okay?
You follow?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
All right, so section 10, Mr. Gifford.
Section 10 is preference in promotions. Right now, the Act says every employer shall, in accordance with federal regulations, give Indians preferential consideration for all promotion opportunities and shall encourage Indians to seek such opportunities. Okay? And the amendment would be to strike Indians and institute Cherokee Nation citizens. So it would read, every employer shall, in accordance with TERO regulations, give Cherokee Nation citizens preferential considerations and then all other Indians for all promotion opportunities and shall encourage Indians to seek such opportunities.
I move and make that change.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garvin and seconded by Councilman England. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Section 11 is pretty much the same amendment. You're striking Indians and adding Cherokee Nation citizen students. This involves preference and employment of students.
Move to accept that. Second.
May I suggest someone offer a friendly amendment that at the last sentence is to strike Indian and make Cherokee Nation citizen? So that it's consistent. Okay, so thank you, Councilman Garvin. All those minds clear? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And that passes unanimously. Okay, so now we're on section 18.
Yes. Section 18, establishment and administration of job bank. Right now, the law reads as follows. The TERO may establish and administer a job bank to assist employers in placing Indians in job positions. An employer may recruit and hire workers from whatever sources are available and by whatever process the employer chooses, as long as the employer complies with this title and Indian job preference regulations and agreements pertaining to the employer. Now, this amendment would do two things. First, it would change the word may to shall, so therefore making a requirement, and would add a sentence to the end of the Section 18, which would state, fines for failure to use this service shall go to fund recruitment, training, potential employees, training for employees, or personnel staff, requirement or job training, or recruitment or job training. So you're going to require that TERO to have a job bank, and that the employer shall recruit from that job bank.
I have a question. Who will set the fines, and what is that rate, or do we need to set that here?
You can do it.
Or do we need to designate that fines will be established by the commission, or put that in the section that will be the power of the commission?
Yeah, we probably would need to delineate that the appropriate fines would be set by the TERO Commission.
In this section, or in the section that's going to come forward next month?
Well, in your powers and duties, if we turn back to page, or to section 5.
So you'll bring that forward next month?
Actually, I think they already have that duty.
But that's been tabled, so...
No, in the definition part.
So technically, we haven't created the committee yet. But it sounds like it doesn't need to be addressed in this section.
It doesn't need to be addressed in this section, because I think that is one of the enumerated duties or in authority of the TERO, what is now the TERO office, which
Okay.
will be.
Do I hear a motion to approve as amended? It's striking may, making it shall, and adding the last sentence. Councilman Baker made the motion, and Councilman Garvin seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Section 24, filing of complaints.
Okay.
Yes, Councilman Baker.
Madam Chairman, I really think this is an area that Todd needs to relook at under the idea of having a commission, and it's kind of what I was speaking to a while ago about the process to where you would appeal to.
Are you making a motion to table to
Yeah.
go forward next month?
Yeah, to have him work on it and table it.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Councilman Crittenden seconded. All those, it's not debatable, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Be tabled and brought forward next month with the commission. So, Section 25, filing of complaints by Indians.
Yes, Section 25 D. Currently, the Act states this title does not provide any course of action for employees of the Cherokee Nation, its entities, or wholly owned corporation. What this amendment would do would be strike that language and add TERO vendors or employees shall be able to bring complaints against the Cherokee Nation Enterprises, Cherokee Nation Industries, and any other entities of the Cherokee Nation.
To that,
Yes, Councilman
to
Aker.
that new created board, or?
Well, we don't know if we're going to go with the TERO Commission as the first stop or the Employee Appeals Board. But if you're going to be consistent, you want to give, you need to, if you're going to have TERO apply to the government and its entities, well, you need to specifically allow for for those employees to bring a complaint.
Councilman Baker.
Again, the slippery slope. I mean, we're sitting here going to give employees the right to sue their employer. which in Cherokee Nation is not a wise thing to do. I mean, they've already got their rights under the, their employment rights. I just don't know that.
McMahon.
Well,
So I think that the concern is the lack of EEOC mechanism within the Cherokee Nation, that there's not some similar mechanism for all entities. And we have it for the tribal government, but we don't have that necessarily the ability, there's an outside mediator to some extent for the government entity with like the CNE and CNI and CNB.
well, here, I guess let me play the devil's advocate here. What good is it to have TERO apply to your government entities or your wholly or your entities if you don't give someone the right to enforce it? Okay. Let's say, okay, CNE, you now have to abide by all TERO regulations, and they just blatantly don't. And you have a TERO commission that's not functional. The way you get these, it's almost a self-policing deal. I'm a person aggrieved, and you're saying I can't go to court?
Yes, Mr. Baker.
I'm looking at it as applying to the nation in their contracting with outside firms, and saying that they don't hire folks out at the border, that they're hiring Cherokee entities, they're hiring things like that. I don't see it as coming into play if they hire a manager at the casino that's non-Indian, then all of a sudden we have 42 lawsuits because they hired a non-Indian at the casino. I'm not seeing it that way. Maybe you can enlighten me.
Well, I mean, it says vendors or employees.
Hold on, Ms. Henry, Councilman Garvin, and then Councilman England. Okay, Councilman Garvin.
Since it's some misunderstanding, and I believe this needs some more study, so I'll make a motion with it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. They'll be tabled till next month.
Madam Chair, I think we worked real hard. It's time to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
That motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And again, February 17th at 2 p.m. during that day, we've crammed all the meetings on, so we will be meeting. Thank you, and we are adjourned.